Friends in Christ, Pastor Brian here. It was wonderful to spend last Friday and Saturday in Iowa City with several hundred colleagues and siblings in Christ from congregations throughout our synod. Folks from Davenport to West Des Moines, from Vinton to Keokuk. We gathered for the 2022 Southeastern Iowa Synod Assembly around the theme, Go Tell the World. A focus on telling the good news of God and Jesus Christ and our own experience of what that means. Several times during the assembly, we practiced doing just that. And while it was uncomfortable for some, it was simple because all you had to do was be an expert on your own life, and you are. One question we were asked to talk about during that time was a moment when you felt God's presence in your life. We also heard from Chris Peters with Braver Angels of Iowa. Their mission is to bring Americans together, to bridge the partisan divide and strengthen our democratic republic. Basically, what they do is teach good communication and listening skills, and then they help people practice that skill in the political arena with the goal of reminding us of all that binds us together instead of what divides us. Interestingly enough, these skills are based on several important beliefs in our Christian faith. First is that everyone, without exception, is created in the image of God and is deserving of love and respect for that reason alone. Second is to remember and keep the 8th commandment. Do you remember that one? You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Now, those of us who have been taught Luther's small catechism know the explanation, that we are to understand this to mean that we should fear and love God so that we do not tell lies about our neighbor, betray them, slander them, or hurt their reputation, but instead to defend them, speak well of them, and explain everything in the kindest way. In other words, we are to see everything that they do in the best possible light, to assume, in the context of political discussion, that that person over there is truly trying to live out their best understanding of what it means to be a good citizen of the United States and strive for what will be best for our union. And to make that assumption even when we deeply disagree with how they are going about that. Now, all these are concrete examples of what Jesus Christ calls us to do. Love our neighbors and our enemies. And to fail to do so is a sin on our part and does damage to the image of God that resides in our neighbor. Now, it can be difficult to do this, especially when they aren't following the same rules and are speaking lies about us and hurting us. But when we do follow these commandments of our God, it fosters better understanding and relationships, ones that can bear much fruit over time, and that certainly lead to a more peaceful and understanding community, which, in the end, is God's desire for us, isn't it? To live in harmony with one another, not in conflict or war. Now, you'll hear more about the assembly from our voting members, Jesse Graves and Rose Dunham, in time. In the meanwhile, I would invite all of us to take some time together as family or friends and each answer that first question. When was a time when you felt God's presence in your life? When it was something more than just an abstract thought, but became for you a very present reality. Also, as we enter into the culmination of the primary season, we move into the general election, I would remind us all to keep the 8th commandment and to respect the image of God that resides in all our neighbors, even those that we might consider enemies. In doing these simple things, we work in some small way to be a means for the reign of God to come closer to us on earth. Thanks be to God.